nosotros aquí en la transmisión en vivo del Third Global Contact Forum. Y bueno, en esta ocasión tenemos a Kit Farrison, que es CEO de ITESA. Hi Kit, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Great.
Okay, I want to know, one of the last concepts in the communication is what is known as the voice of the customer and contact center 2.0. How can we define this concept and how does it apply to the daily work in the companies?
Sure. The voice of the customer is really, I think, one of the primary drivers for innovation and for companies to really understand what they need to do better. So when we look at the voice of the customer, what's happening today is there's a huge shift in the marketplace. We were talking about that during my session. And the shift during the marketplace, is from traditionally you would make a call and maybe someone would listen to the call and it was a good call or it was a bad call. Today, what's happening is that people are not making calls. What they're doing is they're doing research first. They're doing their research. They're going on the website. They're looking at what they need to know in order to do things. So social media is one of the key areas because people want to listen to other people, want to know what you thought. Is this a good product? Is this a good service? And then more importantly, when they do call the call center, now with analytics, I can listen to every single call. I can do voice and text analytics and actually hear the conversations and do data mining for good or bad words to see that my reputation, the company's reputation, is strong.
Yes. How it has changed the customer experience with the use of the social media?
It's changed significantly. It's changed significantly because companies need to be more aware today as to how they deliver experiences. A lot of times you're making a decision about a company before you've even made a call.
Yeah.
You go on the website, you go ahead and you go do a Google search for information about the product or the service that you're looking for. So you've made a lot of decisions around that before you've even made a call or before you've even made the purchase. So when you make that purchase, so that's social media, right? That's driving a lot of the conversations. That's what Google calls the zero moment of truth.
Yes.
Yeah, and the zero moment of truth is what happens before the purchase or the conversation has ever happened. It's that experience before it even happens. So after it happens, you need to make sure that that experience is a good one, because otherwise people are going to tweet, they're going to create bad press and bad information about your company, and that will influence the relationships or the non-relationships that might happen.
Yes, and for companies it's important to listen or to read what is their customer opinions about their brands.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
And what do you consider is the most important social network in this moment?
Well, I think Facebook is clearly the big dog. When you look at Facebook for a number of reasons, people are on Facebook to not only connect with their family and their friends, but they're on Facebook to play games. They're on Facebook a lot, and one of the interesting things to know is that 200 years ago, there were as many people on the planet 200 years ago, on the whole planet, than there are on Facebook today. So Facebook has as many people today as the whole planet. If Facebook were a country, Facebook would be the third largest country in the world.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so it's, and I think that's the big player, but I think there are 240 plus social media platforms, and for companies to really do it right, they need to understand all of them.
Yes.
They really need to understand all of them.
Yes, yes, yes. And what do you consider is the most important difference between Facebook and Twitter? If the customers needs to choose one social network, what
Sure.
did you recommend, or what do you say? Yeah, this social network
Sure.
is for and this is for?
Sure. Well, it's a good question. Our, we have a brand called Social Go-Go, and this is our training brand where we help companies to understand social media really well. And in the training, we've got 20 modules, and we really are helping companies to build the strategy around social media. So, Twitter is a great platform because there's a lot of integration with Twitter and a lot of the other platforms that are out there. So you can do a really good job of microblogging, and you can get the whole organization involved with microblogging, right? Because you only have, what, 120 characters and,
Yes.
and not more than that, right? So you
Yes.
can't say more. But Facebook is also great because you can really identify key a key audience.
Yes.
So if you're trying to identify those people who love chocolate, or those people who are getting married, or those people who are, want to buy a dress, Facebook's great because you can identify them and then you can tailor your ads to them.
And you can measure, no?
Yes.
This conversation of
Yes.
your opinion.
Right, yep, you can measure it with good analytics. They've got great tools.
Okay. You talk about marketing P. What
Yes.
means or what is the evolution or what is your
Right. Well, that's our really my perspective in terms of how marketing's changed.
Yes.
You know, and it's I've come up with this concept, which basically is our concept. It's the whole idea of how marketing has totally changed. So it used to be the Porter model was product, place, promotion, and price. So basically 4 Ps.
Yes.
So right, all right. Everybody
piece.
knows this. It's
Yes.
but that's old because that's essential. People expect that. So today it's really about the promise, the brand promise, and that really is about what are you going to do, and are you going to do, and do you do what you say you're going to do? Then there's the performance, which is actually, working and doing it, and then there's the perception. So it's promise, performance, perception. Those are the other 3 Ps, and that's very key. That's a key part of social media. It's a key part of the customer experience because people will measure you based on how you do. You say you're going to do something, did you do it, and what is the perception of what you did?
Yes, exactly. And you talk about or maybe what is the difference between CRM digital and CRM normal, or how can I say?
Yeah,
this?
well, customer relationship management. So, I think overall the whole idea of CRM is customer relationship management,
Yes,
right?
Normal,
Normal, right? And how do we manage customers, right?
no?
Within the context of CRM, many people think it's software, and
Yes.
that's where it started,
Yes.
CRM software. But today it's really about managing that whole relationship. So in social media, it's about having communities. It's about identifying people who are influencers and ambassadors for the brand, and really giving the community content and ideas, and getting involved in fun, having a fun time. With the relationship, it's about managing those customers more effectively and managing that whole experience. Yeah.
And now with these solutions, the companies knows better their their clients, not?
Absolutely, yeah, and I think they also know better what they're doing and what they're not doing.
Yes.
It's
This is a problem, no?
yeah.
How can I tweet? How can I post?
Yeah,
Not?
yeah. And I think it's a problem for some companies, but what the smart ones are doing is they're getting their teams involved because they realize that people come in with phones, people come in with video,
Yes.
people do this. So, we work with clients that are actually tell their agents to video each other about a question that
Yes.
came up or a problem, and then that gets posted, and then they become ambassadors and they become part of the community.
For example, what happens with the bad comments with the companies? What can do the companies to I can't explain.
to change it
to change
yeah.
this comment, this bad comment to the good comment.
Right. Well, the biggest thing is turnaround time, what we call TAT, turnaround time, right? And that's the ability to monitor social media and the ability to really have your ear such that you identify bad comments and things that are bad. So the first thing you do with a bad comment is you identify it,
Yes.
right? Then the next thing you do is you make a determination as to whether or not it's valid or whether or not it's non-valid. So a valid comment might be someone who is a customer, someone who has a
Yes.
legitimate complaint. A non-valid comment might be someone who is always on there. They're called ragers or flamers. People who are always on and doing this kind of thing, right? And there are people who love to do that. So being able to identify those people and having a quick turnaround time is one of the first things. And admitting that you have a problem, admitting that there is a problem, and then having the response to it fairly quickly to shut it down. Because if you don't respond, it becomes bigger.
Okay. What do you consider is the most important difference between American consumers with Mexican consumers?
American consumers and Mexican consumers, I think one of the biggest differences is that in Mexico you have more digital natives, what we call digital natives, yeah? Because these are people who are a higher population of people who are under the age of 30, under the age of 40, whereas in the US you have a higher population of people who are silver people, you know,
No.
like me, you know? And
You're an expert.
but many of these people aren't. Many of these people have not used technology, or they're afraid of it and they haven't gotten involved with it. I got involved with technology a long time ago. This is my business, and if something comes out, I'm all over it. I want to be involved with it. It's exciting. I want to be involved with it. So the biggest thing is that you see in Mexico, people are using their cell phones
Yes.
more, they're shopping more, they're tweeting more, they're having more conversations.
In the United States, not?
In the United States, it's happening, but from the standpoint of the population, so if you take 100 people in the United States and 100 people in Mexico, you're probably going to get younger people in Mexico
Yes.
versus the people in the U.S. So respectively, on a percentage basis, you have more young people using technology in Mexico than you do in the U.S. When I say using technology, I mean, just to be clear, using multiple devices. You know, in the
Yes.
U.S., we basically are using the computer,
The
you know, the
tablet.
phone, yeah, the internet, so on.
Yes.
You know, and we don't use the new devices the way.
Yes, yes. Oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Good to know. What do you recommend to the companies to engage their clients?
This is a very good question. I think the very first thing of engagement is to make sure that your organization is engaged. You know, internally, the biggest problem I see with most organizations is instead of having an organization where everyone is at the table,
Yes.
they have an organization where you have someone here, and then he has someone. You have a hierarchical organization. You know, there's someone at the top, there's then this layer, then there's this layer, then there's this layer. So you have this hierarchical organization where the whole organization is not involved. So that's the biggest problem with engagement,
Yes.
to really understand that everybody is responsible.
Yes.
Everybody's responsible. And if companies really use that engagement process and have a good strategy where everyone is on, you know, everyone is involved, I think you have a better organization.
Do you think social media, social network is for all companies?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me explain why.
Yes.
Because today you'll find more companies are recruiting people over social media. You know, the HR department,
Yes.
and every company is using social media.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, every company uses social media for HR because that's the way you get people, through a network. Every company is looking at social media for part of their public relations, because if they don't, what's happening, if you're not listening to the brand, every company needs to listen to what people are saying about the brand, or listen to your competitor's brand at worst. So you have the operations team, they can improve the production by listening to what is going on or what's wrong. The logistics team can improve the delivery of the products.
Yes.
The sales team can
Yes.
improve the network by having more influence. Yeah, you can deal with your distributors, you can deal with your dealers, you can deal with the marketing team, the public relations team, the HR team. Everyone needs to be involved. I don't think there's one industry that doesn't. Even the government needs to be involved.
Okay. In your opinion, what qualities should be in possession, for example, in the contact center or the agents who manage these new these new solutions, no? These new services, these new ways to communicate with the client?
Sure. I think the main thing that's important is to have clear policies, roles, and responsibilities.
Yes.
If you have clear policies and clear roles and responsibilities, that's numero uno. Yeah? And I think after that, it's about looking at getting the right people. So right now today, the younger generation, younger for me, but the 20 somethings, right? People are used to, they're digital natives. I'm a digital immigrant. I've learned the technology, but these people are born with it. So, getting people who really understand the technology, are using the phone, are using the internet, are able to go ahead and, talk as well as type and have a good sense of that, very important. But the next thing is smart people, very smart, because there is a quality that you need, not only intelligence, but you need emotional
Yes.
intelligence.
Yes,
Because
yes.
still, people deal with people. Even though we're on the digital realm, in the digital world, people still want to deal with people. They still want to know that someone is out there if they need them.
What do you consider are the most important trends in the multimedia services?
The most important traits
Yes.
for
Multimedia services like video, like
Right.
web, like web collaboration.
Right. So I think if I understand the question right, there is a need for all of those in the organization. When we look at a company, we look at, first of all, we do an assessment. And we look to see where the company is in the growth process, right? There are many people in the world. Some of them are athletic and strong, superstars, right?
Yes.
Some of them are little children, babies. Some of them are old people. Companies are the same way. Some of them don't know anything about technology.
Yes.
So tell them to use video and so on and so forth. When they're trying to just understand how to hire people, train people, sell a product, you need to walk before you can run. And the companies so you've got these people who are emerging, these companies that are emerging companies. You've got companies that are optimizing. They've got the technology, they're looking to do more with technology. These are the groups that really need to get social media. And then you've got companies that are strategic. They have everything and they need to be very strategic because they need to accomplish a certain goal or certain vision. Yeah? So like a new product introduction. A company that does a new product introduction needs to do it in a way where they don't waste money and they're able to go ahead and get the opinions of the marketplace. So these are principles, very important traits to take into account while you're looking at these areas. I think they're all very good. Some companies are better suited than others for using.
Than other companies. You talk about social media metrics. How can the companies to create value from social media metrics?
The same way we talked about the analytics before.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. To be able to listen to the conversations and to be able to understand who the influencers are, who are the people who are saying good things about the brand, and also understand who the detractors are. And then work with those and deal with them accordingly.
If a company needs to hire a community manager,
Yep.
what is the profile or what is the most important things that the company needs to consider to hire a community manager?
That's a very good question. I think the number one trait that I would look at is knowledge and expertise. Knowledge and expertise.
Yes, it's the most important.
Yeah, I would say that's number one. And also, the community manager does not have to be hired, and the community manager doesn't necessarily have to be always active. So you could bring on a community manager that might be a superstar, that might be a chef
Yeah.
somewhere, and they're the community manager, and they don't have to be involved in every tweet, but what they do is they have to be involved like every week, so that they're the people everyone looks up to, the community manager.
Yes. Finally, which would you consider to be the most important challenge to the customer interaction industry in this year?
To the customer
Interaction.
interaction industry in the future years. I think the most important challenge will be to create a center of excellence around getting the right people in place for the really complex interactions that are happening because of digital, because of social media, because of the mobile explosion.
Yes.
People are, the consumer is taking the power, and they're finding out what they need to know, and often they know more than the agent does at the call center. Often they know much more. So the most important challenge would be to have a real center of excellence where people really are very knowledgeable and very aware and also very sensitive, because today most customers are calling a call center after they've gone to the web,
Yeah.
after they've tried to find it themselves, and they're very impatient.
Yes.
It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
No, and the clients are more dynamic,
Right.
more demanding.
Much more demanding, much more demanding. And I think the biggest challenge is because consumers are getting smarter, is to make sure that the staff and the interactions get smarter.
Yes.
And that's really the ability to measure and manage those interactions and that experience.
Yes, and they want the answer in the moment, not
Right.
for tomorrow, not
Right.
for 2 hours after. No? It's in the moment.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Oh, good.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.